I stopped pursuing early retirement in 2018, and it changed my life forever. Now, I was a big fan of the FIRE movement, trying to be financially independent, retired early. I see stories of people retiring in their 30s and 40s, and it just looks like this glamorous painting of financial freedom. And so I started to pursue this back in 2013, and I decided to go all in. I was saving nearly half my income by 2017. But something changed in me, and I realized that that pursuit was costing me more than I thought. So today I want to break down why traditional FIRE fails people. I want to talk about the hidden costs that nobody wants to talk about when you're trying to pursue early retirement. And I want to share with you an alternative that gives you 80% of the benefits of early retirement with only 10% of the money. So let's get right into it. Now, before I share why early retirement fails most people, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Empower Personal Dashboard. Now, I've been using this tool for over a decade. It's a free financial app, and it allows you to connect your investment accounts and actually evaluate how you're doing toward pursuing retirement. This could give you another level of freedom. Even if you're not trying to retire early, you can plug in your numbers, run their free retirement planner, and include things like Social Security, taxes, inflation, and figure out if you are on track. Maybe you can still retire in your 40s, 50s, retire early, but maybe you don't need to invest as aggressively. Or maybe you are not on track and you need to invest a bit more. And the retirement planner can give you some ideas about how your pursuit is going. There's also free analysis tools, and you can even connect with a financial advisor through the Empower Dashboard team if you want to. But again, this is my favorite free tool that can give you true insights into your investments. It's better than most of the paid tools out there, to be honest, and you don't have to spend a dime. So click the link below or just go to roadmapmoney.com/useempower, connect your financial accounts and see how you're doing. Now, on paper, FIRE is incredibly appealing. Basically, you just need to save aggressively, invest everything, and then retire decades before your peers. It sounds like financial freedom. And the promise is simple: sacrifice now, retire later. And for a certain type of person, that absolutely works. But here's the problem. Most people don't quit pursuing early retirement because of the math. The math makes sense. The money part, that totally makes sense. It's because the psychology behind FIRE is brutal. And that's what nobody prepares you for. You see, FIRE turns your life into a waiting room. The idea is you need to sacrifice everything now in pursuit of the ultimate goal of never having to work again. That means you put off the trips. That means you don't do the upgrades. That means you don't have flexibility in the budget and you pinch every penny and you just focus on only maxing out all of your tax advantaged accounts so you can get to multi-millions as fast as possible. And basically everything you want in life is postponed until you hit this magical number. But here's the problem is that once you get close to that number, and I've seen this over and over again, go to reddit.com and just go to the FIRE subreddit and start digging in there. And here's what happens. People get within a year or two of early retirement and then they move the goalpost just a little more, just another year, just another 100 grand. And that goalpost continues to move. And these people are no longer satisfied with the original goal they set out for. And so they don't end up retiring as early as the math says they should be because things adjust. They just need to keep pushing things out further. Psychology behind this is you're living in a constant feeling of scarcity because of what it takes to actually invest 50% of your income. And so even if you're doing really well, you can't feel it because you've trained yourself to live in scarcity, which ultimately leads to more anxiety, which is a problem. Again, nobody wants to talk about when you're pursuing early retirements because you track every expense. And when something goes out of whack, all of a sudden it moves your FIRE date a little bit. And you're trying to obsess over the most optimized way to invest your money in every way, shape, or form. And you just obsess over market returns to the point where if there's a bad year in the market, you think, oh no, my FIRE timeline just moved to here and now I'm not going to hit my number. And it feels like a personal attack. And you're like, I sacrificed everything for this and the market's not cooperating. My savings isn't cooperating. Life isn't cooperating. And it just becomes more and more stressful. In fact, you're living a fragile life. And speaking of fragile, the problem with pursuing early retirement is it assumes life isn't going to happen. And it does. And so when you commit to, I'm going to save 50% of my income no matter what, and you sacrifice a lot of things to do that, life will happen and it changes the formula. So if you only needed $1.2 million to retire, but you had a couple of kids and you were like, no, we weren't going to have kids, and you end up having kids, or you have to move to a certain area because of a family illness. And now all of a sudden your life circumstance changed, your number changed, your expenses go up, and now you need 2 million instead of 1.2. Now, all of a sudden, your fire date gets kicked out 5 years, and it's just more and more stressful. And it feels like if life changes, it actually breaks your system. It breaks the thing you're trying to pursue, which can honestly lead to depression because that goal is the most important thing, and now it just changed. And so psychologically, it's hard to wrestle with sacrifice and what you need to do and just the realities of life. And speaking of, listen, I'm not going to speak for everybody in the FIRE movement, but I will say this for myself. When I was pursuing early retirement and I was saving over 40% of my income, money optimization became a priority over relationships, over the things that we really wanted to do. We had to optimize every penny. We had to make sure that we're just only doing exact minimum amounts of everything that needs to be done and save everything else. And the problem is you don't want to become that person, to be honest. You don't want to be the cheap person. Now, frugal, smart, awesome. But if you become cheap in pursuit of a larger goal like early retirement, not only is it feel selfish, it kind of is selfish and to those around you as well. And if you have to make every single money decision through the filter of, does this delay retirement? You are going to be miserable. I remember when we were looking at upgrading our home because we were expanding our family. We needed a little bit more room. We wanted to upgrade. And all I could do every time we looked at the price of a home is I would rerun the mortgage numbers and figure out how much longer do I have to work because of this. And that broke me. It was like, oh man, I got to work another 9 years if we add this mortgage to, it was such a singular focused outlook on life. And I didn't consider the factors of my family and relationships and the life we were going to live in this new home. And it just made things miserable. And this leads to the last problem with the traditional FIRE movement is it turns your investment and savings rate into a moral test. What I mean is if you don't hit your 50% savings goal every single month and max out your retirement accounts, all of a sudden you're failing. Like you feel guilty for spending money on things you enjoy because it's taking away from the ultimate goal of early retirement. And you try to train yourself or beat yourself into submission to stop wanting those other things when in reality, you're just sacrificing everything to get to this goal. And then when you ultimately get to that goal, when you've hit the number, you won't want to actually quote unquote enjoy life at that point. You're just going to live at that same level for the next 50 plus years. And then finally, I've made another video on 10 other reasons why I believe F.I.R.E, which is what I'm going to talk about here in a second, is better than early retirement. So I'll put the link up here and in the description below. But the problem is meaningful work matters. And you can pursue meaningful work in your career, in your business, without having to be retired, without having to be financially independent. And waiting until you get there to then pursue the thing you want to pursue and just, struggle through for 15 to 20 years and get that engineering job that you hate and just grin and bear it to get to your financial independence number is a massive sacrifice of some of the most important years. Now, I'm going to share 2 pivotal moments of why I stopped pursuing early retirement and how it changed my life. And then I'm going to share with you about F.I.R.E, which I think is a more worthy goal, a more attainable goal for most people, and something that gives you a lot of freedom on the way to retirement, even potentially still early retirement, but you don't have to destroy yourself to get there. So moment number 1 was January 25th, 2017. That was the day that I turned 1 year older than my dad ever did. My dad died when he was 31 years old, and he left my mom with 3 kids. And in 2017, around that same age were the 3 kids that I had. And so I had a boy, a girl, a boy, and they were about the same age as the kids that my mom had when my dad passed away. I realized I had now outlived my father, and trying to pursue early retirement and sacrifice everything for another 15 and 20 years that I wasn't guaranteed just shifted my perspective on life. I realized that really wasn't it. That wasn't the ultimate goal, is being, financially independent. The ultimate goal was realizing what I had now, having gratitude, and then figuring out how to build a life that I don't want to escape from ultimately. And then shift number 2 came in late in 2017 when I was super stressed out. I was traveling all the time. I had gotten a job where I was gone from Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. until Thursday at 10 p.m. And my wife was at home with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a brand newborn baby. And I realized that if I just continued down this path and sacrificed everything so that I could get to early retirement in my 40s or late 30s, that I would miss the most precious years of their lives while my wife grew to resent me the entire time. And that massive shift, along with some health scares that we ran into, made it so that I had to do something different. I couldn't wait until I had millions in the bank to do something about this. And so then I started to do some research, and that's when I found F.I.R.E. Now, F.I.R.E is a version of trying to be financially independent, trying to retire early, but the math behind it says you only need to invest enough, and then you can stop investing altogether. And then all you have to do is get a job that covers the bills. And this is a huge unlock for us in a couple of ways. Number one is we realized that the trajectory we were on was not going to go well for our relationships and the life we wanted to live. And number two, I ran the numbers and I realized I had a little over 100 grand invested back in early 2018. And I just future projected, regular market returns. And I realized I could still hit traditional retirement with $2.8 million in the bank, even if I never put another dollar in ever again. And that combined with this desire to change our life trajectory allowed me to quit my job at age 32. We sold our house and 90% of what we owned, and we used that home equity to purchase an RV. And I was able to travel around the country with my kids for 2.5 years with no burden of work. Now, again, this is not the path for everybody. I went pretty extreme, but just think about it. You get to the place where you know you've invested enough and your future self is forever taken care of once you hit retirement age. What would that allow you to do? Maybe you could quit the job that you hate to work when you actually like and just have the bills covered. You don't have to be maxing out your investment accounts. You could stop saving 50% of your income and you could put 50% of your income toward really fun pursuits or travel or starting a business or something else you're actually passionate about while you're in your prime years, while you have the energy for it. Or you could do something crazy like I did and just take a sabbatical. Maybe you just need to step away for 6 months or a year. And so instead of investing 50%, you save half your income and now you have a year of expenses saved up and you go off and travel for a year. You go on a sabbatical. Maybe you still come back to the job, but you now have a whole new outlook on life. You can grasp massive financial freedom through the concept of F.I.R.E without having to wait 15 to 20 years to get to full early retirement. And here's the part that's crazy. When I stopped pursuing early retirement, I made better decisions for my family. And I was able to start up a business that gives me a ton of flexibility. I can be at all the kids' events. I can go to their games. I can show up and go to their cool homeschool field trips. And we can travel all the time because I was able to build something that just had to cover the bills. And by the way, I'm passionate about it. And so now I have a life that I don't want to escape from. I get to help people kind of walk through these things. I do coaching, but I also do YouTube here and I write for big clients and I do YouTube for a few other clients as well. Like I get to do all these really fun things and share the message that I'm passionate about instead of going back to a soul-sucking job that I hate to climb the corporate ladder just so I can get to the finish line 10 to 15 years earlier. Now I don't have a finish line because I don't want one. Like that might sound crazy to people that hate their job right now. They're like, what do you mean? I don't have a finish line because I don't need to quit my job because I enjoy it so much. And so again, I just hope this can encourage you to pursue something other than early retirement. Find meaning in your work, but if you can hit that milestone of F.I.R.E, now you have a lot more choice. You have financial security for the future, and you realize you won't blow up your future by making a massive change now. So if early retirement just seems too far off, pursuing F.I.R.E can get you to freedom much sooner. And I actually built a calculator. Again, you can click the link below and download it for free to check out how close you are to hitting that F.I.R.E milestone where you could stop investing altogether and maybe reorient your life in a way that you want it oriented. So here's just how it works. So for example, let's say you're 35 and you still want to retire a little bit early, maybe age 60. So not super early, but yeah, maybe a little more traditional retirement age. Kids are out of the house at that point. Maybe the mortgage is paid off. Cool. And let's say you got about $250,000 invested at age 35 and you're putting about $1,500 a month away and you're getting average market returns. You're just in something like an S&P 500 index fund and your monthly budget retirement, let's say it's going to be about 9 grand. Again, mortgage paid off and the kids are out of the house, but it's going to be about 9 grand. You need about 2.7 million to retire a little bit early. Okay, remember, this is before you hit Social Security, things like that. So what this says is if you had 223,000 invested, you're already at F.I.R.E, and guess what? You're already there. That means if you never put another penny in, you'll still get to this 2.7 million by age 60. How cool is that? But let's say you're watching this and you only have 120,000 invested. So you're not there yet, right? You've got quite a ways to go, but you're still getting a 401k match at work, putting money in a Roth IRA, putting about $1,500 a month away. Let's see when you'll hit the F.I.R.E milestone. So you can see here, you'll hit F.I.R.E by, I mean, it's pretty exact. It's probably not going to be that exact, right? The market's not a straight line, but in about 8 years, if you continue to invest $1,500 a month, you'll hit that F.I.R.E milestone. In that case, then you can stop investing if you wanted to. But I just wanted to show how powerful this is. And again, maybe you can find a way to eke out some extra investments and put $2,000 a month away. Boom, you just knock 3 years off that F.I.R.E milestone. And I have a chart down here that kind of shows you where you're at today versus when you can hit Coast Fire, and then how the investments will grow. If you continue to invest that 2 grand a month, you can see, right, it'll turn into a whole lot more if you just stay in that job and you don't mind it. But maybe this gives you the freedom to, take a year off or change jobs if you hate your job so much. But you can grasp a hold of financial freedom a lot sooner if you understand that compound interest will take care of you in the long run. You just need to invest enough now. So, should you stop pursuing early retirements? Ultimately, that's up to you. That's up to your life, your goals, how comfortable you are sacrificing for the next 15 to 20 years to save half your income. If you can get there, that's amazing. Like, go for it. But if you find that it's too challenging and you're starting to sacrifice things that you love and it's starting to hurt your relationships and you're overly analytical and you're just stressed out when you can't save your savings goal, then maybe you want to find a different route to retirement. Coast Fire could be that for you, or it could be just finding a way to save up money and take a year off. But the goal is use investments to your advantage. Use them to leverage to build the life that you actually want. And again, if you want more comprehensive retirement planning outside of just that Coast Fire calculator, check out Empower Personal Dashboard. Click the link below or go to roadmapmoney.com/use Empower, and you can find out how close you are to being on track for retirement. It's going to actually bring in Social Security, inflation, taxes, all of those things. So a whole lot more factors, and give you some real clarity on how your investments can do and whether or not you are on track. So again, click the link below. It's completely free. I've been using it for over a decade. Connect your investment accounts and see where you are today. Now you might be thinking, Jake, that sounds cool, but how has it been going? I made a video breaking down what's been going on over the last 7 years since I decided to stop investing, and I give you all the juicy details in this video right here. So check it out.